Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a video response here to Mikko, the Vinyl Corner, to say congratulations on your 500 subs. Maybe I'm confusing you with someone else, but it seems like it wasn't too long ago when you just had a subs contest of 300 subs or something like that. Maybe I am, but it just doesn't seem like it's been that long ago since you've hit a subs contest, which is absolutely great. I mean, you're at 500 now, and deserve every single one of those. Another one of those people that has just kind of been a mainstay here in the VC. Always show great stuff. Love your music room. Love a lot of the metal stuff you show. And yeah, I'm just going to make sure I pay my respects to you by doing a response to your video and your contest. So here's to Mikko's 500 subs contest. Another very, very good question, and we've had, to me, like a string of those, which has just been some really, really good questions that are also just kind of like, simple, to the point, kind of easy to answer, but are very good questions too. So Mikko's kind of keeping a trend going with that. And basically what Mikko wanted us to show was albums that we feel the artwork really captures the essence of the music on the album. So, again, not your favorite album covers, but your favorite album covers that really, the best album covers that really capture the essence of the music on that album. So, as always, I had to challenge myself to not go overboard. And so I did narrow it down to only 5, which I thought was pretty good. A couple that I left out that I think should be mentioned. Black Sabbath, their debut album, which Robert Z actually did a response to Mikko's contest, and he showed that album. And I think he covered it pretty well. Not much I could add to what he said. And then another one was Kiss Alive 2, but that was kind of more so because of the gatefold, not necessarily the album cover itself, so I thought, that's kind of cheating. So I ended up narrowing it down to these 5. So I'm only going to do these 5 here. And see how I work those 2 in without actually showing them and making my stat too big? That's 5 years of VC experience right there, figuring out how to do that in videos. So let me kind of put these back in order, because this is the order I kind of thought they should go in. There we go. So let's start with this one. Number 5 for me, Jimi Hendrix. Let me adjust this. And this is, of course, Jimi Hendrix Experience, or Are You Experience, I'm sorry. Now, Axe as Bold as Love is probably more of my favorite Hendrix cover, but I think when it comes to the songs on Hendrix albums as well as the cover, this is probably the one that best captures what Hendrix did on a particular album. This is, of course, the album that had Are You Experience, Foxy Lady, Fire, The Wind Cries Mary, I Don't Live Today, and even more importantly, Hey Joe and Purple Haze. And, how Hendrix always talked about music and, like, seeing colors and emotions and stuff like that. My thing was, with all the great songs on this album, including Purple Haze, I think that cover pretty well captures the feeling of what Jimmy was kind of putting out there. Again, I always took it when he talked about things in colors, I took it as, just feelings and emotions being put into music. And so when you think about his hippie side, when you think about his, what could be said today as his metal side, when you think about his hard rock side, you think about his blues side, just all those elements he brought to the table, I think that picture really kind of captures, and those colors there just really kind of capture all those different essences of what was the one and only Jimi Hendrix. So that's number 5 on my list. Number 4 is actually what you're playing in the background. This piece right here, which is Pantera, is Vulgar Display of Power. This album right here is, this cover totally captures this album. Because there's no better way to put it than hard-hitting. There really isn't. Pantera was not necessarily the heaviest band out there, You know, especially when you start going into, you know, thinking about death metal and, you know, down tuning, it's like, you know, like all that heavy, murky, sludgy, sometimes tends to be taken as being heavier. But Pantera was probably one of the hardest hitting bands ever. And blah blah, using that word even. I mean, I didn't plan it out. One of the hardest hitting bands, definitely. And that freaking cover just totally captures that. I mean, this album is an absolute beast. I mean, the very first song on side one, I believe, is fucking Hostile. So, I mean, that doesn't give you any idea of what you're in for when you throw this album on. But yeah, Pantera's Vulgar Display, that is totally what you feel when you listen to this album from front to back. It's just like someone is just popping me in the face as hard as anything. Number 3 on my list is this one here, Rocky Music, Avalon. And this could be a little bit of a surprise, maybe, but I've spoken about this album cover a few times in the past, but where this ties in for me, I don't know what it is about it, but a lot of the songs on this album, especially the song Avalon and More Than This, when I'm listening to that song, those songs, especially looking at the album cover, the artwork at the same time, I get this nauseous feeling in my stomach. I get sometimes a feeling of anxiety and just weird things started to happen physically when I'm listening to the songs, and even more so listening and looking at the artwork. And there's something about the music on here, especially those two songs, Avalon and More Than This, that when I'm listening to those songs, I get like this feeling that Ferry, when he's singing it, there's like this, not a crying out, but just kind of like this sharing of being so isolated. Not necessarily lonely, but isolated, just like by himself, and just kind of like floating out into the world on your own. That's just kind of like the feeling that I get from it. So when you match that feeling up with looking at that artwork of just like some Viking out somewhere, like you have no idea where on earth this is, but just looking out into the distance where there's just nothing out in front of you. And you don't see like a big group or horde around him or anything like that. It just gives me the feeling of someone that's just completely and totally in the world by themselves with all this out in front of them. They have no idea what's beyond the horizon. And so I don't know, it's just something about the feeling of the music with that photo. It just brings that feeling of isolation and everything together in a way that creeps me out to some degree. I don't know why, but so that's why I have that as number 3 on my covers that best fit albums versus the music. Number 2, which is one I've spoken about recently because I think I did this as the album of the week, Disturbed's 10,000 Fists. Another great one. I've always said that this album is such a great representation of teenage angst, hurt, crying out, desires, voice. Kind of all of that is so well captured in this album. You could almost consider this a concept album based on that particular topic, if you will. Because songs like 10,000 Fists, Just Don't Stop, even their cover like of Land of Confusion, Sons of Plunder, it just totally captures all of that. Again, just all of the emotions of teenage hurt, need for acceptance, all of that stuff. And so when you kind of take that into consideration, you start looking at that artwork, I mean, nothing could capture that better. I mean, nothing whatsoever. Even within the artwork, you know, you have kind of like the chubby kid over here, you have what looks like the metal kid over here, you have the goth the goth girl like right over here, and just, you know, all ethnic groups, everything. So it's just kind of like all teenagers joined together type thing, you know. And so I think between the music, the delivery of the music, you know, just Disturbed sound, as well as the lyrics and this artwork, completely and totally captures the essence of what this album is about, even on the individual disc. I mean, as you can see there, Still right on the subject matter. Look at that. So this is probably definitely, I think, number 2 on my list. And let me just kind of show you the other disc here really quick. Again, same thing. So that's number 2 on my list, which is Disturbed's 10,000 Fists. And number 1, and I bet there's 1 or 2 people out here that probably already knew this was the album I was going to pick. This album, probably more so than any, have I ever felt the strongest connection between the cover and the music. I don't think I've felt it more so than any other album. To the point where when I look at the cover, I automatically feel the album without even listening to it. When I listen to the album, I automatically feel and sense the cover without having to look at it. That's how powerful it is. And it is washed out, within and without. A fantastic piece of work right here. And basically what I kind of get from this, before anyone out there starts getting a dirty mind or anything of that nature, but there's one thing for albums to be about, desires, things like that. It's one thing for albums to be very sexually charged and that type of thing. I mean, that runs all over all types of music genres and everything else. But one thing that a lot of them cannot do and don't do very well, which is what this album does, is this album, to me, really bases itself off of sensuality and connection, not just the whole sex sells type thing. And so when, and more or less for those of you maybe that aren't familiar with the band, it's very much kind of synth popish type stuff, I guess maybe the easiest way to describe it. But when I look at this cover, the first thing I get there is not 2 people messing around, but it's more so 2 people that for a split moment have gotten completely and totally lost in each other. I mean, just spirit, mind, bodies, and everything have just completely gotten totally and completely lost within each other. To where they probably can't even tell they're one person anymore. Again, that sounds cheesy, but that's what comes out. And when I listen to the songs on this album, that is exactly what I get from almost every single track on here. Is it just floats you off into this place where it's just all about this sensual connection. And when I hear the music and look at this album cover, I'm just like, you cannot connect 2 things any better than those 2. So love this to death. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And Washed Out is actually coming out with a new album August 13th, I believe, 13th or 15th, for those of you who maybe are fans and didn't know. And I can't wait, because as soon as it does, I'm going to run out and get it immediately. Washed Out is probably one of only 4 bands that I automatically buy their new stuff no matter what. I haven't heard a single song on it. Doesn't make a difference whatever the price is. Doesn't make a difference if I go out and get it. So Washed Out, Metallica, and Godsmack. Those are the 3, I should say. It's just at 4, but those are the 3 where it's an automatic buy no matter what they put out. So anyway, that's my number 1 album cover that really and totally gathers everything that the music is trying to give out, without question. Great stuff. Alright, so take care, VC. And again, Mikko, congratulations on the 500 subs, my friend. And we will talk to you soon. Alright, take care, guys.